The breaking point, the chamber of the Galactic Council, was always filled with noise. Voices from 100 alien species argued, demanded, and shouted across the great hall. But today, the noise had a sharp edge. Every eye was turned toward the human ambassador, who stood alone in the center. Ambassador Clark held his breath as the alien leaders announced the new decree. Humanity was to give up 30% of its food shipments to the Council. Not only that, but the humans were ordered to close their shipyards and surrender half of their navy. The reason was simple, the Council claimed, to keep the peace. The ambassador's jaw tightened. He bowed his head in silence, but deep. Inside, his heart burned. He knew his people would not accept this. They had already endured too much endless taxes, constant inspections, unfair restrictions. This was not peacekeeping. This was humiliation. Around him, the aliens smirked. A Zaloran delegate whispered to another, loud enough for Clark to hear. The humans will obey. They always obey. They are too afraid to fight. The laughter echoed in the hall. Ambassador Clark finally raised his head. His voice was calm, almost too calm. The Council believes humanity will bow forever. I wonder if that belief will hold when the fire rises. His words were ignored, dismissed as empty human talk. The meeting ended, and the decree was signed into law. Far from the shining towers of the Council capital, word of the decree spread across human colonies. On Mars, workers in the shipyards whispered in anger. On Titan, miners clenched their fists as the news was read over old radios. On Earth, millions watched the broadcast with quiet fury. People remembered the long years of being treated as second-class members of the galaxy. They remembered how humans were forbidden from building certain weapons, while other species were free to arm themselves. They remembered the insults, the laughter, the constant pressure. Now, with this new demand, something inside them began to crack, but humanity did not shout in public. They did not riot in the streets. Instead, they went silent. A heavy, dangerous silence. In a hidden bunker beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Elias stood before a glowing screen. The message had arrived through secure channels. It was short. Only 7 words. They went too far. Prepare the fleet. Elias read the words again and again. His hands shook as he realized what this meant. For years, the admirals had warned that the Council would push too hard one day. For years, secret preparations had been made in the shadows. Ships built in hidden shipyards. Weapons tested far from alien eyes. Soldiers trained in silence. Humanity had been waiting. Now, the signal had come. Elias pressed a button, and the message was sent across Earth's hidden networks. Deep inside mountains, underground facilities came alive with light. Engines that had not burned for decades roared to life. Dock workers uncovered warships larger than anything the Council had ever imagined humans could build. Humanity had been patient, too patient, and patience had finally ended. Meanwhile, on the Council's homeworld, alien officials celebrated. They believed victory was already won. The humans cannot fight back, said one counselor, a creature with silver scales and 4 cold eyes. They are bound by our laws. If they resist, we will crush them. Another counselor chuckled. Yes, their fleets are small. Their weapons are outdated. What can they do against the combined power of the galaxy? But not everyone agreed. In a quiet corner of the hall, a young alien aide leaned closer to his master. Sir, humans are strange. They never speak of their strength until it is too late. What if we are making a mistake? The elder scoffed. Nonsense. They are weak. They always will be weak. Back on Earth, Ambassador Clark removed his council robes and looked out across the night sky. He had done his duty. He had given them one last chance to change course. They had ignored him. Now he whispered to the stars, "You wanted to see humanity's fire? Then you will see it." Behind him, the sound of engines filled the air as hidden warships lifted into the sky, their shadows crossing the moon. The first flames of war had been lit. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the breaking point had arrived. And when humanity broke, they did not break quietly. They broke with fire, whispers of rebellion across the galaxy. The new decrees spread like wildfire. Official news channels declared it a necessary measure to ensure balance. Alien worlds praised the Council for keeping humanity under control. But in the shadows, whispers began to grow louder. On Mars, workers in the great shipyards walked home in silence. Their faces were grim, their hands stained with metal dust. They had built ships for decades, cargo haulers, mining vessels, freighters. But now they thought of something else. "If only we could build warships," one worker muttered under his breath. His friend glanced around nervously, then leaned closer. "What makes you think we haven't?" The two men exchanged a silent look. Nothing more was said. But the whisper had begun. In the asteroid colonies, the miners were angry. They had given everything: ores, rare metals, crystals to feed the Council's endless hunger. Now the decree demanded even more. Old radios crackled in the mining tunnels as workers argued. "They treat us like slaves. They think humans will never fight. Maybe they forgot who we are." The words echoed in the tunnels, and no one dared to silence them. Meanwhile, on a Council-controlled station, alien soldiers mocked their human counterparts. "You will obey." A tall reptilian officer sneered at a human guard. "Your species always obeys." The human did not answer. He stood motionless, helmet hiding his face. But later that night, when the alien officer checked his command logs, he noticed something strange. Several human patrol ships had failed to report in. Their signals were gone, completely vanished. Desertion? He whispered to himself. But deep down, fear touched his heart. Across human space, the silence grew. Trade ships disappeared from normal routes. Colonists stopped sending supplies to the Council's depots. Alien merchants complained that humans were no longer buying, no longer selling. The flow of goods slowed, like rivers freezing before winter. First, the Council ignored it. Then they laughed. "They sulk like children," said one alien lord. "They will return when they are hungry." But some noticed the pattern. The humans were not sulking. They were preparing. On Earth's moon, in a cavern hidden far below the surface, Captain Elias stood before rows of massive machines. Shipwrights worked in silence, welding steel, fitting weapons, sealing armor. Sparks flew, smoke hissed, but not a word was spoken. Elias turned to his lieutenant. "How many?" 20 carriers ready, sir. 50 destroyers. More being finished. Every day. And the Council suspects nothing? Elias asked. "Nothing, sir. They see what we want them to see." Elias gave a rare smile. Humanity's secret was safe for now. Rumors spread like ghost stories among the alien races. A Zaloran trader swore he had seen human ships moving in the dark, larger than anything in the official registry. A Varn diplomat whispered that an entire convoy of Council scouts had entered human territory and never returned. The Council dismissed it all as lies. "Propaganda," they declared. "The humans are weak. They have no secret fleets. They only have fear." But fear was shifting. It was no longer only inside humanity. It was beginning to creep into alien hearts. One night, in a smoky tavern on a distant trade hub, an alien merchant laughed at a human pilot sitting in the corner. "You think your people can resist the Council?" the alien jeered. "You have no power. You have no fire." The human looked up slowly. His eyes were calm, his voice quiet. "Fire doesn't warm before it burns." The alien froze, unsure if it was a threat or a truth. The human stood, placed a coin on the table, and walked away. The whisper remained long after he left dock. In the Grand Council chamber, alien leaders argued. Reports of missing ships, failed patrols, and vanished supplies grew harder to ignore. "Something is happening," one counselor hissed. "Then crush them before it grows," another snapped. "They are only humans. They cannot stand against U.S." But the debate was cut short when a message arrived from a border scout. The alien officer who delivered it was pale, his hands trembling. "My lords, we found a hidden shipyard." The chamber went silent. The message continued. "Rows of human warships, bigger than anything we believed possible. Engines alive, weapons armed." Gasps filled the hall. One counselor shouted, "Impossible. They are forbidden." Yet the evidence was clear. The council had pushed too far. Humanity had been silent too long. And silence, they now realized, was more dangerous than open defiance. In the darkness of space, a fleet of human warships moved quietly, without lights, without signals. They drifted like shadows, patient and waiting. Inside the command ship, Captain Elias looked out at the stars. "The council thinks we are still weak," he said. His officers stood behind him, silent. "Let them think it," he continued. His eyes burned with determination, because when the time comes, their laughter will die in fire. The first spark, the Galactic Council, could no longer ignore the reports. Human ships were vanishing from normal patrols. Convoys failed to arrive. Traders whispered of warships hidden in the dark. Still, the Council believed humans would never dare to resist openly. To prove their power, the Council gathered a fleet. 30 alien warships, frigates, cruisers, and battleships were sent into human space. Their mission was simple: remind the humans who ruled the galaxy. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Vale, laughed when he received his orders. His kind, the tall insectoid Krythe, had fought dozens of rebellions. None had lasted more than a month. "Humans are nothing," he told his officers. "When they see our fleet, they will kneel." But far away, in the black silence between stars, a single human destroyer waited. It was smaller, lighter, and carried fewer guns than the alien warships. Yet inside, its crew was calm. Captain Elias stood at the bridge, his hands behind his back. The glow of screens lit his stern face. His officers whispered around him. "They outnumber us 30-1. They have better armor. They have more firepower." Elias raised a hand, and silence fell. "They think numbers are strength," he said softly. "But war is not about numbers. It is about will." The crew nodded. They were not afraid. The alien fleet entered human space. Like a storm, their ships blazed with lights, their engines roaring. Admiral Vale sent a broadcast across all channels. "Humans, obey the decree of the Council. Shut down your fleets. Deliver your tribute. If you resist, we will erase your worlds." For a moment, there was silence. Then a human voice replied, calm, sharp, and cold. "No." At once, the human destroyer moved. Engines flared bright, weapons locked, and the silence of space was broken. Torpedoes screamed across the void, striking the lead alien cruiser. In a flash of fire, the massive ship tore apart. Admiral Vale's laughter froze in his throat. "One ship dares to attack us? Destroy them." Alien warships opened fire. Beams of energy and heavy cannons filled the darkness. But the human destroyer danced between them, faster, sharper, striking with deadly precision. Every hit from the aliens missed by a breath. Every strike from the humans landed like a hammer. Within minutes, 2 more alien ships exploded. The galaxy's strongest fleet was being humiliated by a single destroyer. Inside the council chamber, leaders watched the battle through live transmissions. Gasps filled the air as they saw their mighty fleet struggle against one human ship. "This is impossible," one alien leader shouted. "They must be using Forbidden's technology," another hissed. "They were never this strong before." But Ambassador Clark, watching from a distance, only whispered, "You pushed too far." The alien fleet fought harder, surrounding the destroyer, trying to cut off its escape. Admiral Vale screamed orders, his mandibles clicking in fury. Crush them, tear them apart. But the destroyer was not trying to escape. It was testing, measuring, proving a point. And it had already made that point clear. When the final alien battleship locked its cannons, ready to deliver the killing blow, the destroyer pulled back. Its engines burned like fire, and it slipped into the shadows of space, vanishing from every sensor. Silence returned. The aftermath was chaos. The Council's fleet limped home, broken, humiliated, carrying scars from a single human ship. Alien. Citizens across the galaxy whispered in disbelief. How could humans do this? Have they grown stronger? Are they preparing for war? Fear spread faster than fire dot. In a hidden command center beneath Earth, Captain Elias stood before a map of the stars. His officers watched him in silence. "They now know we are not weak," Elias said. His voice was calm, but every word carried steel. "But this was only a spark. Fire is coming." His lieutenant asked, "Shall we begin the next phase?" Elias looked at the glowing map. "Yes, let the Council see our silence no more. Let them see our war." Back in the council chamber, Admiral Vale knelt in shame before the alien lords. His voice trembled. "One ship, one human ship defeated us. If they have more, we are not ready." The council roared in anger. "Then we will gather more fleets. We will crush them with overwhelming power." But deep inside, fear gnawed at their hearts. If one destroyer could bring such ruin, what would an entire human fleet bring? As the meeting ended, the chamber's lights flickered. A hidden signal pulsed through the networks, unnoticed by alien eyes. The message was human, short and sharp. This was only the beginning. The Council's rage, the news of the battle spread like lightning through the galaxy. One human destroyer had stood against 30 alien warships and returned alive. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt shame. Their mighty fleets had been humiliated. The council chamber shook with fury. Alien leaders shouted across the hall, their voices echoing. "They dare to resist us," one counselor roared. "Destroy them before their courage spreads," another shouted. "They must be taught fear again." The Supreme Chancellor, a towering reptilian creature with scales black as iron, slammed his claw on the podium. "Enough! Humanity thinks it can rebel. Then we will show them the power of the Council." The Council voted in anger. Their decision was swift, a full invasion of human space. Hundreds of warships would be gathered from across the galaxy. Entire armies would march. They would burn Earth if they had to. Admiral Vale, humiliated from his defeat, begged for a chance. To redeem himself, the Chancellor sneered at him. "You failed once. You will not lead again. This time, the galaxy's greatest admirals will command." Still, Vale knew something the others refused to admit. He had seen the precision of the human destroyer, the way it fought with fire and discipline. He whispered to himself, "They are not weak anymore." But no one listened. Across human space, the whispers grew louder. Colonists spoke in hushed voices. Miners grinned behind their helmets, and soldiers trained harder in secret bases. Everyone knew the Council's fury was coming. Everyone knew war was no longer a question. It was a promise. On Earth, Ambassador Clark stood before a hidden audience of military leaders. His voice was calm, But his words cut sharp. The Council believes they can break us with fear. They are wrong. They have mistaken silence for weakness. They think patience is surrender, but our silence was preparation. He turned to Captain Elias, who stood at attention beside him. When their fleets arrive, the galaxy will see what humanity has been building all these years. Elias nodded once. Then let them come. In the void of space, preparations began. Alien fleets gathered like storm clouds on the edge of human territory. Hundreds of ships, armed with the most advanced weapons of the Council, assembled under one banner. The stars glittered with their engines. On their command bridge, alien admirals scoffed at the humans. They will run, one said. They will. Kneel, another laughed. They cannot fight the galaxy itself. But fear still lingered. Rumors spread even within their own ranks. Some whispered of entire human armadas hidden beyond the dark. Others told stories of weapons powerful enough to burn moons. No proof existed, but the whispers refused to die. Meanwhile, in the secret shipyards beneath Earth's oceans and moons, the truth was revealed. Massive carriers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts floated in silence, their hulls gleaming with fresh steel. Entire fleets, hidden for decades, now prepared for war. Captain Elias walked through one of the docking bays, watching soldiers board their ships. They carried old rifles, new plasma weapons, and the weight of determination in their eyes. A young soldier saluted him. "Sir, do you think we can win?" Elias paused. "Win? No, we will not simply win. We will remind the galaxy why fire burns." As the Council fleets moved closer, alien scouts entered human space. Many did not return. Those that did spoke in terror. "They were waiting for us," one scout cried. "Their ships moved like shadows. They let us see just enough. And then they disappeared." The Council dismissed the reports as fear. Hallucinations. Humans are tricksters. Once the full fleet arrives, the lies will end. But in the shadows, humans smiled. Every scout was allowed to escape on purpose, carrying stories back to the Council. Stories of war. Stories of fire. At last, the day arrived. The invasion fleet crossed into human territory. Their ships stretched across the stars, endless and proud. Alien soldiers cheered in their barracks, believing victory was already theirs. From the bridge of the lead battleship, a Council admiral sent a message to Earth. "Humans, you had your chance. Obey or burn." For a moment, silence filled the channel. Then, a calm human voice replied. It was Elias. "You came for obedience," he said. "But you will leave with ashes." Across the human fleet, engines roared to life. Hidden armadas rose from the darkness, dozens, then hundreds of ships, their weapons glowing red and gold. They had been waiting, silent, patient. Now they moved as one. From every colony, every hidden base, every secret shipyard, humanity answered. Their silence had ended. The fire was about to begin. Asterisk. The fire unleashed. The invasion fleet of the Galactic Council entered human space with arrogance. Thousands of alien engines burned like suns, their warships stretching from one horizon to another. Alien soldiers sang victory chants. Admirals laughed at the thought of crushing humanity in a single strike. "End this rebellion," the Supreme Chancellor commanded from afar. "Make the humans kneel and show the galaxy no one escapes the Council." The Council fleet moved forward like a wall of steel, but space ahead was quiet. Too quiet. No human ships challenged them. No defenses appeared. Only empty stars. Admiral Tharos, commander of the invasion, frowned. His long silver tendrils twitched in suspicion. Why are they not resisting? Where is their fleet? An aide? Whispered nervously. Perhaps they already surrendered. No, Tharos growled. Humans do not surrender so easily. Something is wrong. He was right. At that moment, the void erupted. Human ships appeared all at once, rising from shadows, decloaking from dark fields, lifting from hidden stations. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of warships filled the black sky. Their engines glowed like fire, their weapons charged. The Council fleet froze in shock. This is impossible. One alien captain cried. They were forbidden to build fleets of this size. Yet the truth could not be denied. Humanity had been silent for decades, but all that time they had been building, waiting, and preparing. Now their fire had been unleashed. On the bridge of the human flagship Vigilant Dawn, Captain Elias stood tall. His crew looked to him for orders, their faces lit by red alarms. They came to make us bow, Elias said calmly. But today they will kneel. His voice rang across every channel. Across the fleet, human captains repeated the same words. The order was clear. Fire. The battle began with thunder. Missiles, torpedoes, and beams of light filled the stars. Human warships moved with deadly coordination, striking weak points, tearing holes in the alien wall. Council cruisers exploded one after another, their wreckage. Scattering like burning ash. Alien soldiers screamed across comms as their proud armada broke apart. They are everywhere. They know our formations. Retreat. We must retreat. But there was no escape. The Council admirals ordered counterattacks. Entire wings of alien fighters launched, swarming toward the human fleet. But the humans were ready. There. Carriers released waves of interceptors, faster and sharper, slicing through the enemy like blades. On Mars, hidden defense platforms activated, firing giant cannons that pierced even the thickest Council armor. From the asteroid belts, long-range missile silos unleashed storms of fire, striking alien battleships before they even saw the launch. Everywhere the aliens looked, humanity's fire was waiting. Inside the Council flagship, Admiral Tharos slammed, his claws on the console. Hold the line. They cannot defeat the galaxy's greatest fleet. But even as he spoke, the view screen lit up with more explosions. A dozen of his ships vanished in bursts of flame. His officers stared in horror. Admiral, we are losing. No, Tharos roared. We cannot lose to them. Yet deep in his heart, he knew. The Council had underestimated humanity. They had mistaken silence for fear. Now they were paying the price. On the Vigilant Dawn, Captain Elias watched the enemy fleet collapse piece by piece. His officers cheered, but his face remained stern. This is only the beginning, he said. Do not grow careless. Fire spreads. Only if it is fed. A lieutenant turned to him. Sir, shall we press the attack? Elias nodded once. Press it. Burn them until nothing remains. Hours passed. The battle raged across stars, but the outcome never changed. Alien ships fell, like sparks into the void. Human fleets advanced like a wall of flame, unstoppable, merciless. For every human ship lost, 3 Council ships burned. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone knew it. At last, Admiral Tharos gave the only order left. Retreat. All ships retreat, but retreat was impossible. Human ships blocked every path, their weapons glowing like suns. One by one, the Council warships were destroyed, until only wreckage floated in the silence of space. When it was over, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Council invasion fleet, thousands strong, was gone, and humanity stood victorious, their fleets shining in the dark. On Earth, people filled the streets, cheering as the news spread. On the colonies, miners and workers wept with pride. Humanity had not only resisted, they had proven their strength to the stars. But Captain Elias did not celebrate. He stood on the bridge, staring at the burning wreckage. "This is the fire they asked for," he whispered, "and it has only begun." At turning tide, the ruins of the Council fleet drifted silently in human space. Wreckage of once proud battleships glowed faintly, their broken hulls spinning among the stars. Fires burned inside shattered cruisers until the cold of space swallowed them whole. The invasion was over, and humanity had won. But the war was not finished. On distant Council worlds, panic spread faster than light. News channels tried to hide the truth, calling the defeat temporary. Officials insisted the humans had only won by chance. But whispers told another story. 30 ships fell to one destroyer. Hundreds more fell in the great battle. They fought like fire itself. Ordinary citizens trembled. If humanity could destroy the strongest fleet in the galaxy, what else were they capable of? Inside the Council chamber, chaos reigned. Leaders shouted in rage, their voices overlapping. "Send more fleets." "No, we cannot risk more losses." "Negotiate before they burn more worlds." The Supreme Chancellor slammed his claws down. "Silence. Humanity has struck us, but we are not finished. We will gather every fleet, every soldier, and drown them in war." But deep in his cold eyes, there was fear. He knew the Council was bleeding, and bleeding fast. Meanwhile, humanity pressed its advantage dot in the asteroid belt. Human fleets struck quickly, raiding supply convoys meant for the Council armies. On Titan, missiles launched through the dark, striking alien outposts with terrifying precision. Everywhere the Council turned, humans were waiting. Their fleets moved with speed, appearing and vanishing like ghosts. Alien admirals grew desperate, unable to predict where the next firestorm would fall. On the flagship Vigilant Dawn, Captain Elias studied the battle maps. Red dots the Council fleets were scattered and broken. Blue lights human fleets spread wider each day. His officers smiled, but Elias remained grim. "Victory does not come with one battle," he reminded them. "We must push until the Council has no breath left." His lieutenant hesitated. "Sir, some Council envoys are asking for peace talks." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Peace or delay?" The lieutenant swallowed. "They say they want negotiation." Elias shook his head. "They want time to rebuild. We cannot give them that." In the Council chamber, desperation grew. A nervous alien envoy finally said the words no one dared speak. "Perhaps we misjudged humanity. Perhaps we should respect them." Laughter broke out. Bitter, angry laughter. "Respect. Humans, they are savages. They are fire without control. They must be extinguished." But still, the whispers of doubt would not die. Too many fleets had been lost. Too many soldiers had been burned. The fear was real. On alien streets, the story spread faster than Council propaganda. Children whispered it in schools. Merchants told it in markets. Soldiers muttered it in their barracks. They stood against the galaxy and did not fall. They fought with fire. They cannot be defeated. Some alien citizens even began to question the Council itself. If the humans could resist, why couldn't others? Rebellion flickered like sparks across the galaxy dot one night. In a dim chamber aboard the Council's remaining command ship, Admiral Vale stood alone. He had survived his earlier humiliation and now watched the war unfold. He whispered to himself, "They pushed them too far. They thought humans were weak." But weakness was only silence. He turned to the stars, and now the fire spreads. Nothing will stop it. Back on Earth, Ambassador Clark addressed the people. His voice was carried across every human world. "For years, they pressed us. For years, they mocked us. For years, they thought our patience was weakness. But they were wrong." His voice grew stronger. "We showed them fire. And if they dare to press again, the galaxy will see fire once more. Humanity does not bow. Humanity rises. The people erupted in cheers. Across colonies and fleets, humans felt the same truth. This was not only war. This was a turning point. Humanity was no longer just another race in the council. They were a force. A fire that could not be contained. And in the shadows of space, fleets prepared for the final blow. Humanity was no longer defending. They were advancing. The galaxy had felt their spark. The council had felt their fire. Now, humanity was ready to show them the inferno. Fire's legacy. The war was short, but its scars would last forever. In less than a year, the Galactic Council had lost more ships than in the last 5 centuries combined. Human fleets, once thought weak and primitive, had torn through there. Enemies like blades through paper. World after world watched in shock as the Council fell back, retreating from territory they once ruled with arrogance. Entire sectors of space burned, lit by the wreckage of alien warships. Humanity had not just defended themselves. They had rewritten the balance of the galaxy. On the flagship Vigilant Dawn, Captain Elias stood before a vast star map. Blue lights spread across the screen. Human fleets advancing into new systems. Red lights. The Council's forces were fewer each day, scattered and broken. His officers looked to him with pride. "We have won," one whispered, but Elias shook his head. "Victory is never final. Fire does not end when the flames die. It lingers in the ashes, waiting to rise again." His words settled like stone. The crew understood. Humanity could not grow careless. The council would one day return. In the council chamber, silence replaced the endless shouting. The Supreme Chancellor sat slumped on his throne, his black scales dull, his claws trembling. Around him, counselors whispered in fear. "We cannot fight them anymore. Our fleets are gone. They will burn us to nothing." For the first time in history, the council voted not in arrogance, but in desperation. They sent envoys to humanity, not with demands, but with pleas. Pleas for survival. Pleas for peace. The human response was cold. Ambassador Clark stood tall in the negotiation hall, surrounded by alien envoys. His voice was calm, steady, but sharp. "For centuries, you treated humanity as a lesser race. You pressed us with taxes, laws, and insults. You believed silence was obedience. You believed patience was weakness." He leaned forward, his eyes burning. "You were wrong." The aliens bowed their heads, silent. Clark continued, "Humanity will not be ruled, not by you, not by anyone. If you seek peace, then peace will exist. But know this, if you ever press US again, the galaxy will burn brighter than before." Across alien worlds, fear and respect spread in equal measure. For the first time, children of other species whispered human names with awe. Soldiers spoke of human fleets with dread. Merchants traded carefully, knowing humanity now had the power to enforce its will. And in the shadows, something else stirred. Other oppressed races looked to humanity as a symbol. If the humans could stand against the council, why couldn't they? Rebellion sparked like embers across the stars. The council's grip was slipping, not only because of defeat, but because of the fire humanity had lit in others. On Earth, people celebrated. Crowds filled the streets, cheering under the glow of fireworks. Colonists sent messages of pride from Mars, Titan, and far-flung outposts. Humanity had stood alone against the galaxy, and they had won. But Captain Elias did not join the celebrations. He stood in silence on the observation deck of his ship, watching the stars. His lieutenant approached quietly. "Sir, why don't you celebrate with the others?" Elias did not turn. His voice was low. "Because fire is never truly controlled. Today it burns for us. Tomorrow Who knows where it spreads? The lieutenant frowned. Do you fear it? No, Elias said, his eyes fixed on the void. I respect it, and I will make sure humanity never forgets why we lit it. Years later, the galaxy would still speak of this war. They would not call it a rebellion. They would not call it an uprising. They would call it what it was, the time humanity answered. With Fire Dot, and in every council chamber, in every alien government, one rule was quietly written, never to be forgotten. Do not push humans too far. The galaxy had changed forever. The council had been humbled, and humanity's fire had become legend. Asterisk.